There it is. The greatest sound you're going to hear today until I speak. Hello, everybody. It's Friday morning again. Comes up every week at this time. And this
And
is
you say that every Friday.
Well, of course I do. And today is Friday, and it's the Happy Hour broadcast with Dr. Paul and Nancy Collins. And we're happy to have you on board. This is the friendliest show on radio. It is the best look on Facebook. And believe it or not, rather than going to get a car lube, watch us on YouTube. How's that?
That's the best rhyme as of yet.
And you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't heard nothing yet. It's coming on. I want to say hello to my good friend and first secretary, Shirley Simpson, up in St. Joe, Missouri. I always want to speak to Shirley. Hi, Shirley. And my good friend Jerry Chamberlain over in Chesterfield, Missouri. He was a teenager of the church where I was the pastor in St. Joe many moons ago, back, no offense to our Native American friends, many moons ago back in St. Joe, Missouri, when I was up there in the early 60s. And our friends up in Northeast Missouri, churches where we've been up there many times, Nancy, and then some more up in Northwest Missouri besides St. Joe, and people in Germany who are family members of Jim and Pam Whining, and folks all around the world. That, in case you wanted to know where Springfield is located, that's where we are, and Springfield is in Missouri, in the southwest quadrant, and Missouri's right in the middle of the United States of America. And remember, from this point on, I fondly refer to my adopted home little city, not as Springfield, but as Springburg, USA. So here we are. And Nancy and I, we are our own guests today on purpose. Before we get to that, a disclaimer. And I don't know, we may be the only ones, Nancy, that on Axe Radio and TV that has a disclaimer.
Nope, everybody does now.
Everybody does it now? Well, I'm glad we set a good example for them, because we don't want anyone to hold Axe Ministry nor Axe Media Group responsible for anything that you see or hear on this broadcast or any other broadcast that comes from Axe Media Group. Now then, those of you who are going to hang with us, I suggest that you get your little device, little phone device out, be ready to take some notes on it. If you don't have one of those, get your iPad out, put some notes on it. If you don't have one of those, get your laptop out, make some notes. If you don't have that, get a piece of paper and a pen. And if you don't have a pen, a pencil will do. But we're going to give you some information that you will want to write down. Well, we will. And if all else fails, I hope you have a really good memory. If you can't write, have a really good memory. All right. Nancy, you know, recently we've had some great guests, and we have some wonderful guests coming up. And some of them you don't even know we have coming.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Now, some that you will know, we're going to have Kent and Adam Kyle again. They were with us last week. They're experts on Medicare Advantage insurance and a lot of other stuff they can give you information on. And Adam, the son, is a remarkable young man, very bright, very knowledgeable at age 24.
I thought he was 29.
Well, maybe he's 29, but he's less than 30, which means he still has a lot of growing up to do, but he really knows insurance industry, all the legalities, ins and outs. They're coming back. Also coming back, Dr. Philip Lloyd, who is the founder and head honcho at Cherry Health Center right here in Springburg, USA. And he not only knows a lot about stem cell treatment therapy, but he is a sold-out, staunch Christian with a wonderful, beautiful, very moving testimony. We're going to hear more from him. Next week, we have a returnee, Dr. Jonathan Clark.
Oh, yes.
And Dr. Clark is a medical doctor in a completely private practice. He isn't owned by any hospital, and he has a strong practice. He has another medical doctor in there with him, plus a nurse practitioner and a wonderful office staff right here in Springburg, USA, has been for years, and he is an ordained minister and an associate pastor of a charismatic church here in Springfield. Nancy, we went to their church after he was a guest on the show, and enjoyed it very much.
Sure did.
Nice new building, young pastor, interesting. While we were in the second service, I guess, and it was full, they had a whole bunch of people who had fanned out over the community, and they do it every Sunday as the outreach teams, going into hospitals to pray for people, nursing homes, meeting people on the street, witness teams. If they'd had all those in the service, they'd have been bringing out extra folding chairs. Interesting church. Plus, this just, if I could ever be blown away as somebody who's in his 65th year of ministry, this would blow me away. They did not pass the plate. They didn't even have offering plates anywhere in sight. They did not say anything about an offering. They did nothing about an offering. Have you ever been to a church like that? I've never been to a church where they didn't have an offering. So for all you cheapskates out there, if you want to go to a church and not worry about the offering, let me know. I can tell you where to go to a church where they do not even mention the offering. That is different. Anyway, also coming up, here's something that you may not know about, Nancy. We're going to have one of the outstanding defense attorneys in the United States of America, well known all across the country, very well known by everybody at Regent University out in Virginia Beach. Been in practice here a long time. He was the youngest prosecuting attorney in the history of the state of Missouri, and of course now he's old enough to be getting ready to retire. However, he isn't retired, and he is the author of some wonderful books, and they are interesting. One of them in particular is very interesting. One of them tells you how to get along with policemen. Another one, though, is an examination as a defense attorney of the trial of Jesus of Nazareth. And that book has been out into thousands of hands. A defense lawyer looks at the trial of Jesus and says why he was unjustly executed. That lawyer is Dee Wampler.
That whole thing could have been Romans 8:28.
Yes. Romans 8:28. That, folks,
Whoa.
for those of you who don't know, means all things work together for good for those who are called of God according to his purpose, etc.
That's right.
Romans 8:28. Anyway, Dee Wampler, well known,
Good.
and not just in Springburg, USA, and Greene County where we are, but all across the nation and probably in other parts of the world. He will be our guest soon.
Good
Very
deal.
soon.
Thank you, Jesus.
We have one coming up the last Friday of the month that we are really enthusiastic about receiving. A lady who is a pharmacist. We're going to find out about the pharmaceutical industry and what it means to work behind the counter, filling prescriptions and that sort of thing. Her name is Bobby, and she's a beautiful lady and has been a friend of ours a long time, has taken good care of us, pharmaceutically speaking. And she is an old, not old, she's still a young woman, but she used to be a radio personality. She used to do some radio up in the Kansas City area, I believe. But see, now, we also had, and we will have back, Dr. Hobbs, Dr. Lindsay Hobbs, a lady who has a doctorate in audiology, and she knows all about the ear and hearing and all that sort of thing. And she used to be a disc jockey. So we have some interesting gets. One more that I don't know if you realize or not, but he will be coming with us soon. His name is Per Brink.
Oh, yeah.
Per is spelled P-E-R. He is from Sweden, but speaks perfect English. He goes back and forth. He has an insurance agency. his independent agency here in Springfield, Springburg, USA. He handles a lot of our insurance. He's a great man, very personable. He was at the Axfest banquet along with his beautiful wife, and Per Brink will be on hand soon to talk to us about many different kinds of insurance and how an independent insurance office operates so that you go in as a customer or a client. It takes some of the mystery out of it. And he'll also talk to us about Sweden. That will be interesting. All right. Nancy, I've gone on and on and on about that. You want to say a word on behalf of a very inexpensive place to buy groceries, and you can find them not only here in Springburg, USA, but you can probably find similar stores where you live. And we suggest you take a look because you may be overlooking some bargains.
Well, I call it a precious store. It's got precious people in there. It's called Surplus Grocery Warehouse, and it's located on 4560 South Campbell Avenue, underneath and past the James River Freeway south of Springfield, Suite L100. It's in back of the Shadowwood Center. And all of it, it has all dry goods, you might say. No frozen food at all. No milk or anything like
No
that.
fresh food. It's
No,
all canned or boxed.
Yes. And it's 50 to 80% off.
Now, folks, we bring this up to bring it to your attention because we have a real interest in what we call stewardship. As Christians, we believe in taking care of whatever God has given us. And when it comes to food, it's one of the major items in your budget, and so are toiletries and all of your bathroom supplies and so forth. So we are glad to pass along the information that probably in your community, if you look long, you'll find a similar store. By the way, the owner of Surplus Grocery Warehouse, who lives in Kansas City, when he is in town, he will be making arrangements to be a guest on the happy hour to tell us where they acquire this food, how this system works. That's going to be very interesting.
Awesome.
So, that's another guest coming along. I made myself a note so I wouldn't forget it. I think there are still people in this world who call those of us who live in the Ozarks, they call us hillbillies. If so, I want you to know I'm glad to be a hillbilly. I'm glad to be an Ozarkian. I adopted Springburg, USA as my little home city back in 1977. Actually adopted it before that, but wasn't able to move here until August of 77. This little town has been good to me. I've tried to be good to it. I hope you'll be good to your town and that your town is good to you. So it's great to be a hillbilly and to be in Springburg, USA. So now people hopefully have their piece of paper in hand. I want to say a word on behalf of a great event coming up, sponsored by Acts Ministry. And Matt, you can be getting a commercial ready for whatever you want to say, what you're wanting to promote today. But I'm going to major in promoting Acts Ministry and Acts Media Group today. Acts Media Group is a department of Acts Ministry. Acts Ministry, folks, is in its 27th year as a non-profit, not-for-profit religious organization, more specifically Christian, and has influence around the world because of the internet. But also, there's a lot of folks out there who are ministering in on behalf of Acts Ministry and doing a good job. Acts Ministry has its mission statement, unity in Christ through the Holy Spirit. So it matters not what denomination you are a part of or not a part of. You can relate to Acts Ministry if you really think folks ought to be able to get together. It has the first motto was the one that I gave it, and I simply said, serving where needed. Dr. Jim Wining took over as president of Acts Ministry. And by the way, our chief engineer and our station manager, Matthew Pearson, is on the board of Acts Ministry. Nancy and I are not, and so we just love to serve because Acts Ministry serves where needed. But Jim Wining, the president, also added another motto, and I love it: doing the right thing. So there is a telethon coming up, and it's going to be October 28th and 29th, as I understand it. We'll keep you posted. A telethon, the first one in the history of Acts Ministry, and it will be over all of the platforms that Acts Ministry has for broadcasting, and it's going to be called Doing the Right Thing Telethon. So mark it down with your pencil and paper, October 28 and 29. Matt, I understand we're going to be running 24-hour a day with this telethon.
We're going to be 12 hours a
12
day.
hours. 12
2
hours.
days in a row, 12 hours a day.
Okay.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's where it stands right now. Of course,
All
if
right.
it changes, we'll have to let everybody know.
Sure. But be looking for it and stay tuned for it.
And we'll give you, after the meeting, we'll give everybody opportunity and information if they want to sponsor an hour
Right.
of the show. And if they want to come on, if we ask that if they sponsor an hour, that they come on and talk about their business.
And what a wonderful way to get the word out. It's phenomenal. I mean, lots of people are using the internet, and we have a heavy presence on the internet. There will be special guests at this point, obviously. There will be some auction gifts. People have a chance to bid on something, I guess. There will be sponsors, and this is always interesting. I watch quite a bit of television, Matthew, and
It's weird because I really don't.
well, I watch enough for both of us,
Good.
and I pay attention to commercials, you know,
Yeah.
and some of them, they just wear you out. Same old commercial over and over and over and over and over again. Well, here's my suggestion, folks. If you're getting a little weary of that sort of thing because you're a television buff, mark down the dates of the telethon, and you'll get exposed to some brand new sponsors and brand new commercials. And I wrote this little thing here that apparently they're going to be using. I wrote, whatever you do, don't miss the special Acts Ministry Doing the Right Thing telethon, October 28th and 29th. You will be amazed at the programming on Facebook and YouTube. So tune in. For more information, call area code 816-806-9391. This will be repeated later. I hope you're writing fast. Or email 4321acts, A-C-T-S, treasurer @gmail.com. So, Matthew Pearson, we're
Yeah.
looking forward to a really great telethon. You have anything you want to throw in here at this point?
Oh, well, I do want to talk about, just go ahead and swap it on over there, Jay. I want to talk about this show is, of course, brought to you by naturalsolutionstore.bz. We don't want to forget about that because they're a major sponsor of the network here.
That's right.
And today's product that I will be featuring is, it's called Brain Focus. Brain Focus.
I could use that.
Yeah, I think we all could. Now, our fast-acting brain focus formula was carefully formulated to provide the perfect blend of ingredients to increase your mental performance, promote positive mood, increase natural energy, and ignite your mind's full potential, increasing memory, improving brain function, increasing attention length, natural, safe, and effective, builds brain connections. So that's on there on naturalsolutionstore.bz. So if you get a little bit scatterbrained and you think that, you know, you're going to be looking for something that might help, go online to naturalsolutionstore.bz and pick yourself up a bottle of Brain Focus today. Back to you guys.
All right. And by the way, of all the products that are on the website for Natural Solutions Store, there are a number of CBD products and just the other day, Nancy and I took a little one-day sojourn. We went up to what we call Amish country, and that's north and east of Springburg, USA. You go up Highway 65, about 2 miles past the little town of Buffalo, and take Highway 73, angles up to a little wide spot in the road, a little intersection called Tunis, Missouri, and it's not even an incorporated town. Hang a right, you go all up until there's a T, hang another right, and then hang the first left, and you can go to the Lead Mine Country Store and Kitchen. Now, in Amish country, we call it, and some people call it Mennonite country. By the way, I have a book all about the Amish people and the Mennonites, and I'll say a little bit about that in a moment. But there are pockets of these communities around over the United States, obviously, and I find it very interesting. These people not only speak very fluent English, American style, American style, but they also speak very fluent German because they emphasize their German background, or in some cases they call it their Dutch background, and their roots go all the way back to Joseph Minnow in Europe many years ago, and that's why some are called Mennonites and some are called Amish. Anyway, we call it Amish country. The lead mine, now that was a little settlement where they tried to dig out some lead, no longer doing that. The Lead Mine Country Store and Kitchen. They have a restaurant, and they have dry goods, they have gifts, they have books, they have all kinds of herbs, various kinds of grain sacked up. They have all kinds of honey and preserves, and the list goes on and on and on.
Supplements.
And yes, and then their motto is preserving a way of life. We had lunch there.
Oh boy, it was good.
The Amish ladies, you can see them working right there in the kitchen. Everything is fixed for you from scratch, basically. So it takes about a half hour to get your lunch. And we got there early because we didn't want to be in line. And so they opened at 11. We were there at 11 for the restaurant. And while we were eating, the restaurant packed out. There must have been 60 people in there at least. But I had a black bean burger, and it was delicious. Very special treat. I'd never had one like that. Nancy, what was it you had? Oh, yeah.
I had my ham and Swiss cheese.
Ham and Swiss cheese.
Oh boy, it was good. It was good.
All right.
And they had those dill chips, I think they're called.
Yes.
And then they had the regular chips. I know that they made, I
Yes.
believe. Boy,
Yeah.
they were good. It was all good.
Homemade chips and homemade little pickle slices that
Yeah.
were. Oh,
And then I had something very, very, very original to drink, a Coke. Just letting people know that they had a whole shelf of nothing. You could pick out your drink, everything from soup to nuts to drink.
and I had water.
Yes.
They had on the wall up behind us some of the most beautiful clocks you've ever seen. Now, these are German-crafted clocks, or I'm sure, or Swiss, something. Beautiful. And they had them set so that about every 15 minutes, one of those clocks would chime and play beautiful music. And we're sitting right in the corner, sort of surrounded by these beautiful wall clocks, very intricate, open-faced. You can see all the movement and listening to the music. So we had a great experience. We recommend, if you just want to get away sometime, find Amish country in your area. Go online, Google it or something and find it, and you'll have a good time with that. Now, in Amish country, I will say this, they have people who build things out of cement,
I was getting ready to say.
all kinds of yard ornaments, lawn ornaments, and so forth. They have people who build log houses.
Oh, yeah, and furniture. Awesome, awesome. Wonderful furniture.
Yeah, and they build furniture. It's really beautiful, heavy-duty wooden furniture. They have somebody that makes saddles for horses, saddles, and all the tack. They call it, bridles and all that, and various other kinds of leather goods. They have people who raise a lot of vegetables, and they have roadside stands at certain times of the year. They also have a large community auction house where, frankly, people from the city will go there and buy fresh fruits and vegetables by the crate, that bring it back to some place like Springburg, USA, and sell it in an open market. There's a bakery there
Oh, boy.
that if you can't handle sugar, don't go near it. It's small, but the minute you open your car door, you smell it. There's nothing smells any better than a bakery.
Boy, it's good.
It's beautiful, that wonderful aroma. And then, see, what else do they have up there, Nance, that I'm overlooking a lot of stuff. They have lots of things that they make out of wood, all kinds of craftsmen, that's for sure. So it's very interesting. If you get a chance to visit Amish country, someplace near where you live, and even if you have to drive a little bit, it's worth the drive. I'd like for you to enjoy it. We're here. This is the happy hour. We're trying to offer you some stuff that you can enjoy. One of the stores that we stop at is called Meadowview Dutch Market, and they have inexpensive groceries.
Oh, boy, I know that's right.
They have everything that you would expect in a supermarket. They have all kinds of refrigerated items, and they have a meat case. You can go up to their meat case and point to various cold cuts. They'll slice it off and make you a sandwich right there. They have stuff in the freezer. They have canned goods. They have soft goods. They have all kinds of grains. You can buy beans in a 50-pound bag if you want to, dry beans. I mean, it's an interesting experience. Meadowview Dutch Market, and they're one of two places that is modern enough they'll take a credit card.
Yeah, that's right.
The Lead Mine Country Store, their sign says cash or check only. They'll gladly take your check, but they have no electronics. And this is really interesting. Now we've got our shift manager back over here, Jason, and Jason, sometime you're taking one of your motorcycle trips, go up to Amish country, but go anytime Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Don't go on a Sunday; nothing's open. And if you want to stop by that bakery, they are only open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But at the Lead Mine General Store, they have, and this is a new facility, maybe 10 years old. They have these recessed lights that are not lights. They capture whatever light is outside and somehow focus it so that you're not walking in the dark. And in the restaurant, they have a ceiling fan that runs on compressed air. So, I mean, they have no electricity, no phone, and yet it's very new and modern building. And they do have indoor plumbing in case you need it. And the man who owns it, his home is right there. And his name is Dwayne. He won't mind.
How much country is this?
North and east of Buffalo, Missouri. And the other Amish country over east of us here, directly east, they don't have the stores and things like they do up there. They have a lot of handcrafted stuff. But up there, they have these stores. The man who owns the Lead Mine country store and restaurant, he at one time was a clergyman in a major denomination. And he gave it up because he wanted to preserve this simple way of life. It usually takes a year to qualify to be a part of the Amish community. He qualified in 6 months. And when I see him, I'll say, how many children do you have? The first time I asked him, he said, well, we only have 3. The next year, I said, how many children you have? Well, we only have 4. And I told Nancy, I said, when we see him, I'm going to ask him, and I'm pretty sure he's going to say 5. So this week I said, how many children do you have now? He said, well, we just have 5. I said, when I come back next year, you're going to say we just have 6. They believe in families. They believe in children. And I have that book. It's a soft cover about the Mennonites and the Amish, and it's very interesting. It is a different way of life. I told our oldest son, he likes that area up there because he's kind of a down-to-earth sort of person. I said, son, I could really enjoy living up there in Amish country if I had electricity, my big flat screen TV, my computer, my cell phone, and a helicopter pad with a helicopter in case I needed medical attention. Where we were, there's no cell service. Cell phones are useless where we were. I mean, no service, period. And so anyway, we had a good time, didn't we?
That was our one-day vacation, you might say.
Right, one-day vacation. So after that, then, of course, we stopped at Meadowview Dutch Market. We loaded up on some very inexpensive items. And then on our way back, we stopped at now there's various levels of Amish and Mennonite. We stopped just north of Buffalo a little ways, at a store, Miller's Country Store, and they are a little more modern. So there's 2 of them that are modern enough that they have electricity and they take credit cards, but the women wear the traditional attire. And the Miller Country Store, you can buy CD. Oh no, they'll give you a CD of their choir singing a cappella and so forth. In fact, I picked up a magazine there that's free called This and That and Wheels. All kinds of ads in it. And another magazine that they were glad to promote for somebody out of Kentucky called Reaching Out, a Christian magazine. So they're very open-minded about other religions and so forth. All right, Nancy, I'm going to have to get us into some heavy-duty stuff here because even though it's the happy hour, we do need to provide some information to people.
Well, remember now, there's Romans 8:28. It says all things, and that's the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it all works together for good.
Okay. I wonder which I am.
You are the...
Remember, it's the happy hour. All right.
Maybe a little of all 3.
Our engineer over there said I'm a little of all 3.
Yeah, that's true.
Last time when we had Kent and Adam Kyle on with their insurance stuff, I said, when you get things in the mail, don't just toss them automatically and don't just lay them someplace and never look at them. Today, same message going out. Everybody receives in their mail a report from their state representative. Most people never look at it. They just throw it away. I look at it and I read it. And it's very interesting. You want to know how much money it takes to run the state of Missouri? Now, whatever state you're in, you get a report. Look it up. Read it. The fiscal year of 2020 coming up. Where the money comes from. Well, the general revenue budget for the state of Missouri is $10 billion. That's billion with a B. $10,110,992,996. Where does that come from? Individual income tax, sales and use tax, corporate income tax, Insurance premium tax. There's a tax on your insurance premium. And liquor and beer tax. Now, they break this down then into two categories. Believe it or not, a bunch of this comes via the federal government. Now remember, folks, whenever you send your money on a long trip, by the time everybody gets paid, gets a little slice of it, so forth, not much of it comes back home. Is that right? So they get, of their $10 billion plus dollars from the federal government, $9,851,393,416. Now, I didn't realize that out of our state budget expenditures, out of 10 billion and 110 million, et cetera, almost 111 million, would round it up, 10 billion, 111 million dollars. Almost 10 billion of that comes from federal funds. Now, other funds that they get, $9,698,133,572 comes from the lottery and gaming proceeds, highway and road funds, conservation, parks, soil, and water funds. And, this is what it's dedicated to. This money is dedicated to these purposes, to the lottery and gaming proceeds.
You mean we get money from the lottery and gaming proceeds?
Well, this part of this $9+ billion. Highway and road funds, part of it. Conservation, parks, soil, and water funds, usage fees and so forth. And the Proposition C, whatever that is, and cigarette tax, where that money comes from. So we're looking at a total budget of around $40 billion. About $40 billion. Now, where does it go? The biggest user of state money is the Department of Social Services. That's the largest department of state government. And they get 32% of this money. Now, social services has to do with child welfare, welfare payments, has to do with the aging, Office on Aging.
Is that Medicaid?
Medicaid is probably included in there. Then 21% of our expenditures is for elementary and secondary education. We spend a lot of money in the state of Missouri on education. 10% has to do with transportation, whatever that is. That may be probably state vehicles. Mental health, we only spend 8% of this budget on mental health. But the Office of Administration and its employee benefits are costing us 5% of that budget. Corrections and public safety, that means the prisons and their personnel that operate them, 5%. Oh, health and senior services, 5%. That's probably, that may be the Medicaid and then some senior services things. Higher education, that means universities, 5%. Agriculture, natural resources, and conservation, 3%. Now, folks, don't get bored with me here, because after all, this is out of your pocket. If you are alive and breathing and a consumer, this is coming out of your pocket. You may say, well, I didn't have to pay any tax last year. Oh, yes, you did. Every time you bought some fuel, if you are a smoker, or if you bought groceries, if you went in a fast food place, you paid taxes. So this is relevant to you. Agriculture, natural resources, and conservation, 3%. The Missouri Conservation Commission is one of the finest organizations in the United States of America. They publish a beautiful full-color magazine monthly, and they give it away. And it's all about conservation, wonderful stories, and keeps you posted on, on lots of interesting things. Turkeys, geese, ducks,
Possums,
deer.
possums.
Possums. There was a great story about possums. And it'll keep you posted about snakes. If you're curious about what kind of snakes you may be living among, it's in there, all kinds of stuff. Then the Department of Revenue, they're the ones that collect your money every time you buy a license for your vehicle. That's part of the Department of Revenue. 2% of the budget goes to operate that. Then get this, elected officials, judiciary, that's judges, the legislature and public defender, 2% of the budget. Now that may not sound like much, but how much is 2% of $40 billion? Think about that. Matthew just goes, whew. Caught your attention, didn't I, Matthew?
2% of even
Huh?
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Be able to live for the rest of your life.
Well, of course. But see, it's coming out of our pockets. Economic development, 1%. That doesn't sound like much, but 1% of 40 billion? So that's a chunk of change. Labor and industrial relations, 1%. Folks, back in the middle 70s, I lived and worked in our capital city. And my last office was in the office, the building that housed the Labor and Industrial Relations Commission. At that time, I had no real idea what they did, and to this day, I have no real idea what they do, except there were 3 so-called commissioners. And if you had a Democrat governor, 2 of the commissioners would be Democrat and 1 Republican. If you had a Republican governor, 2 of them were Republican, the other one Democrat. And they made final decisions on a lot of things like that related to employment security and disability and all that kind of stuff. And they had many secretaries, and they had many legal counsel. Each one of them had 2 or 3 lawyers that were counsel for them, and all these secretaries and clerical workers. They cost us 1%. Statewide real estate, a little less than 1%. Okay, what's kind of real estate? Well, we know we have a Capitol building. We know we have other state office facilities, various things around over the state, a little less than 1%. Insurance, financial institutions, and professional registration. So, Nancy, as a nurse, your professional registration falls under this, and it's a little less than 1% of the $40 billion. And then public debt, in order to be paying back, it's a little less than 1%. Now, when you open this thing up, before you open it, I started to count all of the bills that were passed by the House, that is, the House of Representatives of the General Assembly of the state of Missouri. Don't get bored with me, folks. This is your money I'm talking about. There were like 47 House bills passed. Some of them, you'd have no idea what they mean. For instance, House Bill 1088 establishes the $1 Million Boondoggle Act of 2019. Come on now. What is a $1 Million Boondoggle Act? There's no explanation.
Well, who gets that paper? Everybody in creation?
Everybody, every household.
Then why don't they, you can't tell what that means or what that's for or.
No.
So why don't they spell that out?
Well, it would take more paper because the House passed like 47 bills.
I know,
pieces-
but they're not all like that, are they?
Well,
I mean, that some explain what they are
well, let's see.
so that people can understand.
Here's one, House Bill 182. excuse me, 138, House Bill 138, establishes, in quotes, Simon's Law, which changes the laws regarding life-sustaining or non-beneficial treatment policies of healthcare facilities. That sounds like mumbo jumbo.
I'd like to know about that.
Well, of course. Then let's see. House Bill 565 establishes 7 new state designations. What is that about?
See, to me, well, I won't even go into it. But
But of course, we paid for this newsletter.
which means that if it was 10 pages, we'd be paying for 10 pages.
Oh, yeah, well, if they spelled out these bills, it'd be a book this thick, because I've seen these bills. They go on and on and on with all this legal jumbo.
Well, is there such a thing as going on the computer and
Looking them up.
looking them up?
Good idea. Try it and see. Now, there were also like 50 or a little bit over bills passed by the Missouri Senate. Senate Bill number 1, the first one they passed, removes certain offenses from the list of offenses where expungement is not currently available. Now, doesn't that make a lot of sense? I mean, we paid these people to be in Jefferson City. We paid their expenses going over there and their expenses coming back. We made certain that if they got stopped for speeding out here on a 4-lane highway, that they couldn't be arrested or ticketed because they're on their way to the Capitol or on their way back. Did you know that, Matthew? Then how about this one? Senate Bill 7 modifies provisions of civil procedure regarding joinder, Joinder, regarding joinder and venue. I have no idea. There's not a clue. So, anyway, on and on and on it goes. There's one that I kind of find interesting, and our friends up around Kansas City especially will find it interesting. It's SCR 2, whatever SCR stands for, Senate something or other, recommendation or request. It requests the United States Congress to replace the statue of Thomas Hart Benton in the Statuary Hall of the United States Capitol with a statue of Harry S. Truman. So, Missouri says we have these 2 favorite sons, Thomas Hart Benton and Harry S. Truman. There's a statue of Thomas Hart Benton in the Statuary Hall of the United States Capitol. We want you to replace it with a statue of Harry Truman.
Why don't they just get a Harry S. Truman statue and put it up there by the other one?
Well, they have to go through jump through the hoops. Now, here's one that our folks in the Kansas City area will like. Hold on, Jim and Pam. That you'll like this, I think. SCR number 4 designates the Kansas City Chiefs as the official professional football team of the state of Missouri. Now, guess how many professional football teams the state of Missouri has?
2.
1. We used to have 2. We have 1. And so now we're going to make it the official professional football team of the state of Missouri. I find this, I mean, they spent time doing this.
And money.
Oh, well, time is money. Oh. Okay. I could go on and on and on. But I think you can see why it's the happy hour. You can moan and groan all you want to, but it still comes back to the fact that maybe you ought to have a little talk with your state representative, your state senator, and maybe you ought to get to know them. Maybe you ought to communicate with them. Maybe you need to pay attention to what's going on.
Oh, maybe we need to invite them on the happy hour.
Well, we're going to. This fellow here, I've got him right in front of me. He is state representative for our district. I'm going to have him on, and I'm going to invite the Speaker of the House, who is a Springfield State rep, to be on. So if you happen to know Craig Fischel, official pools here in Springfield, you tell Craig he's going to be hearing from me. And if you happen to know the lawyer, Elijah Har, let him know he's going to be hearing from me. He's the Speaker of the House, and we're going to do our best to get him on. Nancy, what would you like to bring up at this time? I know I've kept you sitting there just waiting. What would you like to bring up? Anything?
I hadn't thought of anything.
All right. Then let me circle back to this insurance thing that we had last week, and we have some more coming up. Americans get their health insurance as of this last June.
Wow.
56% was employment-based, and we have a lot of politicians now wanting to change that so that everybody's insurance would be under the government. That means 56% of our population will, if they have their way, will have a change in their insurance plan. Yes.
Remember on the TV show that we were watching this morning, and that Indian gentleman that was on, and he was talking about, since they were on Indian land, they really didn't, how did he put it? It's like they weren't their own. Everything came from the government. They were on government land. They had, I don't know what all. And I think the comment he made was, if everybody wants everything government, this is how it is, which is not really good.
Well, it would turn out that if government provides everything, then we all live on a reservation of 48 contiguous states plus Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah.
16% get their health insurance through direct purchase, whatever that means. 17.2% are on Medicare, and we have at least one of the candidates for the presidency wanting everybody on Medicare. 19.3% are on Medicaid, and 4.8% have military insurance, and 8.8% of our population still has no insurance, none whatsoever. However, to be fair about that figure, there are some people so extremely wealthy they do not need insurance. If they have a medical situation, they simply pay for it and they never miss the money. But that's just a very small part of this 8.8% that has no insurance. Makes you wonder, how can you have Medicare, Medicaid, etc., and still have 8.8% of the people with no insurance? Let's say 0.8 of those are wealthy and can buy their own, but that leaves 8%. How can you have 8% of the people who have no insurance? Where did they come from? Across the border, maybe?
I don't know, but to me it makes sense. You know how I think? There's always going to be somebody on the fringes. And in this world, it's not heaven. Everything's going to be taken care of in heaven, as you know. But
Yes.
in this world, that's why you got a Romans 8:28. There's always people that can't afford something for one reason or another. And it's nice to have everybody taken care of, but I'm sorry, that's not a fact. That's a fact of life, that not everybody can take care of themselves. So therefore, as far as I'm concerned, that's the way it is.
I believe the greatest teacher who ever lived, Jesus of Nazareth, said, "You will always have the poor with you."
That's right.
That does not absolve us from
No.
an obligation toward them, but it's just, there's fact and then there's truth. Well, that's the truth. Everything Jesus spoke was the truth.
That's right.
More than a fact. Everything he spoke was the truth. While Matthew's getting ready for a good commercial spot for us, here's a reminder. Get ready, get set, and come along with us to the Acts Ministry Doing the Right Thing Telethon, October 28th and 29th. If you haven't written it down, write it down, and tell a friend. Spread the word. You will be amazed, informed, entertained, and inspired. Yes, you will want to be involved in doing the right thing side by side with dedicated people serving where needed in communities across the nation and around the world. So, when this thing happens, we will be saying to you, welcome aboard to Doing the Right Thing Telethon, October 28th and 29th. Now, here is our station manager and chief engineer and head bottle washer and sometimes cook, Matthew Dillon Pearson.
Bottle washer? Like I said, I am a father, so I washed a couple bottles in my day. Now, my question to you folks is this. Do you feel lethargic, bloated,
Sometimes.
have weight gain?
Sometimes.
Do you smoke
No,
or regularly consume alcohol?
no.
Now, you may need a liver support supplement. Easy and gentle, only 2 capsules per day. No handful of horse pills like some of the other brands. And you should gradually feel an increase of energy, better overall health, and improved mental clarity. We're on the mental clarity kick today.
That's right.
So rapidly repair, detoxify, and protect. Regular exposure to environmental toxins like cigarette smoke, alcohol, poor diet, and medications, and working in polluted spaces can overwork your liver. Now, common symptoms of an overworked liver include lethargy, or lethargy, I think that's how you say it.
Right.
Feeling bloated, gaining weight, having low immunity, insomnia, emotional outbursts, and digestive upset. Liver Cleanse will help to bring your liver back into balance by providing effective cleansing and aids to restore nutrients that are depleted. So if any of these do apply, go online, naturalsolutionstore.bz, and pick up a bottle of Liver Cleanse today. Back to you guys.
Hey, what a commercial. You're getting good at this, Matt. We may promote you to head commercial giver.
He'd-
Head
he-
commercial washer?
Yeah, commercial washer.
he could be the goodest.
Yeah,
The
more,
good-
more good or better?
Well, no, past that, it's the goodest.
Oh, well, you just got a big recommendation from Nancy herself.
To gooder?
No, the goodest. The goodest. That's the best,
That's,
but you're the goodest.
yeah, that's beyond gooder.
is more gooder than the best.
Huh?
No, you can't get more gooder than the best. You're goodest.
You're goodest.
Now, folks, stick with us here. There's a point in all this. Go to the naturalsolutionstore.bz or go online to Acts Ministry website, actsmediagroup.com, and you can click on the button there. Also, please remember that your offerings, you can call them donations if you want to Acts Ministry are doing a tremendous job of reaching the world with a lot of good stuff. Letting people know to read the reports from their legislator, that's no small deal. This is a $40 billion deal. And where else do you hear this? Most of the time, just on the happy hour. When we first started over a year ago, I brought with me a whole page of a newspaper from September 1 of that year. And it had a list of all of the things our federal government was spending money on, a lot of stuff, silly stuff. And to wake people up, to let them take seriously, when we check out our groceries, I look to see how much sales tax did we pay on those groceries. By the way, either one of you brilliant young men over there have an answer to a question that I probably will have to Google. Why is it gasoline could be like $2.39.9 per gallon? What's the 0.9? Is it a tax?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to guess it's probably a tax. Gentlemen, can you believe that back in the early 60s, I lived in St. Joseph, Missouri, and I was commuting to seminary 4 days a week in Kansas City, over there and back. And there was a gas war the entire 3 years that I did that commute. Gasoline was 19.9 cents per gallon. That's probably,
20 cents per gallon?
yeah, that's probably the reason I was able to afford to go to seminary. I
It's
wasn't-
marketing, because people don't read the 0.9. All they read is the 19.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's actually, in all actuality, it's
actually
basically
about
20.
the time you dribble a little bit, out of the, often wondered what happens to gasoline that's left in the hose. You know, you can't shake it all out if it's been measured yet or not.
You used to be able to, but now
Now
Can't.
somebody pays for it.
Somebody pays for it, don't they? Everything costs something for somebody. As they say, no free lunch. Be sure and pay attention to what you receive in the mail, whether it's health insurance, whether it's tax insurance, whether it's something about money. Money still remains a mystery, Nancy, does to me and to many people. And one of these days we're going to do an entire program that has to do with money. And I'm going to be very careful in selecting the person who will be the guest. In fact, it may take two guests simultaneously for us to get to the truth about money. Because money is not what people think it is. You're whispering, they can hear you. I can't. She's saying slow close. Oh, it's 10:30. Matt, here's my slow close a little faster.
I was waiting until 11, Dr. Paul.
Here we go. Dear friends, this has been the Happy Hour. It is the Happy Hour broadcast with old Dr. Paul and Nancy, sweet Nancy Collins. It's been obviously the friendliest show on radio today and the best look on Facebook today. And it has been, instead of getting a car lube, watching YouTube the best today. We've had a good time, had a lot of variety. Be sure and be with us next Friday because we're going to have that MD with us and a great testimony and good insights about health. Stay blessed. See you then. Bye-bye.